The clean-up after Storm Claudia. We're in Monmouth, where the community's rallied round as traders count the cost of the weekend's flooding.
It's all been contaminated, so there's nothing, even our towels and gowns and everything, we can't keep because it's all been absorbed by water. You can't risk it.
Flood defences have protected the town in the past, but not this time against the record river levels. So what can be done to keep communities safe?
Yes, people here are asking how the town can be better protected in future. And I'll be talking to the council leader about the support that's available for those affected.
After the heavy rains
And good evening. They are the scenes of devastation which will live long in the memory for those living and working in Monmouth. Unprecedented flooding caused by torrential rain brought by Storm Claudia. Those impacted have been counting the cost while also clearing out their homes and businesses and taking small steps towards life getting back to normal. Well, tonight we'll be looking at how this all happened, as well as hearing about a community which has come together in such awful circumstances. Live now to Monmouth, and we can join Jennifer Jones. Jen.
Well, Nick, unprecedented and never seen anything like it before. Just some of the ways that people here in Monmouth have been describing the flooding that came in light of Storm Claudia. Now, the River Monnow just over there reached record levels on Saturday, breaching its banks. I'm sure you've seen the pictures of this part of the town. The floodwaters were at hip height. Now, there are well-established businesses and new businesses that have been impacted to the tune of tens of thousands of pounds. Now, the clean-up is continuing tonight. You can probably hear the lorries coming and going, but despite their best efforts, there is still this layer of mud and silt that's been deposited by those receding floodwaters. And as the deep clean continues here, the message is, for the most part, Monmouth is still open for business. And the question tonight, what more can be done to help residents and businesses? I'll be putting those questions to the council leader shortly. But first, let's hear from Harriet Horgan. Now, she was reporting from here on Saturday, and she's been back today to find out how this town is coping.
This won't be a quick fix. As the waters of the River Monnow receded, the community of Monmouth came together. People here are doing their best to restore what has been ruined by the unprecedented flooding over the weekend.
All our salon chairs, trolleys, they were just, obviously, everything was floating. We had radiators literally ripped off the wall.
Storm Claudia's downpour swept away the setup of this salon. It took 4 hours to pump out the flooded floors. Now its owner hopes normality will return as soon as possible.
Saturday, I think I woke up about 4 a.m. or 4:30. And I don't know why, I just thought I'm just going to check my phone. First thing on Facebook was Monnow Street like a river. And I just started screaming. We are lucky because we have got an upstairs as well, so we've got 6 units down here and 6 upstairs. So it's all going to have to be ripped out, basically. But that's, at least we can trade slightly. Do you know what I mean? 50% is better than no percent, right?
When we arrived here on Saturday, the water was up to my knees. A major incident was declared. People were stuck in the flats above the shops. Business owners couldn't even get anywhere near to assess the damage.
2 days ago, Catherine arrived to this. Today, with the support of her staff and wider community, there is some hope.
Everyone in town, all of the local community, amazing emergency services, random acts of kindness. It's quite amazing. And it's seeing now the drive of everybody in Monmouth. They want to get open. They want to get back in business. And hopefully this high street will be open maybe next day or two.
It's volunteers and service providers that now fill this street. Locals want it to stay busy and are encouraging visitors to continue to visit the high street.
We need you to come and shop at Monmouth. Monmouth is not shut for business. We are definitely open.
The Welsh Government says it's investing a record £77 million in flood protection this year, with a focus on the most at-risk communities. For the local businesses affected by the flood waters, it says Business Wales is on hand to provide practical information and advice.
Over the last 48 hours, the community here have rallied together to assess the damage done.
But no matter their efforts, the after effects of this devastating flooding will be felt for a long time.
That was Harriet Horgan reporting. I'm joined now by the leader of Monmouthshire Council, Mary-Ann Brocklesby. People here are resilient, but this has been devastating.
Absolutely devastating and heartbreaking for our businesses who are gearing up for Christmas, but also for our residents who've lost their homes. Some of them are still living elsewhere.
So what have you been able to do to support people so far?
A lot of it in the response has been very practical, helping remove the waste from their houses and businesses. You can see how clear the street is now. You can see the skips here. We've removed 70 tonnes alone today.
And what are the practical steps can you take to support businesses who really want to get back up, as you said, it's Christmas, want to get back up running quickly?
One is information on insurance, on cleansing, particularly for those shops where they need a high level of cleansing, like Nail and Beauty, the pet shop. So we're offering advice, but also disinfectant. We're looking into humidifiers, bringing those in, information and advice on how to clean up safely, support via claiming insurance, what they need to do, how they do it. We have just set up an FAQ page for those need to know. And we have our officers out on the streets talking to businesses, finding out what it is they need, what practical support they need, and trying to respond quickly.
Now, Welsh Government have said they're investing record amounts in flood protection and that they're in touch with you at Monmouthshire Council about the support that's available. So what does that support look like, and is it enough at this point?
Firstly, I'd like to thank Deputy First Minister Hugh Ranker-Davies, who was down here on Saturday, seeing for himself, talking to businesses, and to find out what kind of support package he could put in place. We have been talking since the rain started falling with Welsh Government. We're looking at financial aid for our businesses and for our residents, but also support to us to make sure that we do the clean-up, the response, but also as we move into recovery, we start looking forward to where we need to be for resilience, for flood management, flood defences. This will take years, and I was reassured today by a Welsh official that they will be with us for those years.
And as far as, you know, the warnings were concerned, did this take you as an authority by surprise, and were people given enough warning?
In the sense that we were all warned by Storm Claudia, and we were all warned that it was amber alert, it was going to be difficult Friday night, Saturday and Sunday. Yes. Were we warned about the unprecedented nature of the deluge from the storm? 5 inches within 5 hours? That was unexpected by everyone.
OK, Mary-Ann Brocklesby, thank you so much, the leader of Monmouthshire Council there. So those are the immediate steps that are being taken to try to support people. But what about the long-term future? Because we know, because of global warming, our winters in Wales are getting wetter and warmer. So we are going to ask now how people can be better protected and how this happened. So let's hear from our environment correspondent, Stefan Messenger.
Another storm bringing extreme rainfall, and another Welsh town to add to the list of those devastated by flooding in recent years.
That's what extreme weather looks like.
Kim filmed the rising floodwaters on his phone. As an artist focused on the environment, he says these images should act as a call to action on climate change.
We need to be starting at the very top of the hills, reforesting the uplands. We need to be digging ponds. We need to be kind of slowing the flow in the rivers. We need to be creating dams. It's not about moving it faster off. We just move the floodwaters quicker to the next person.
A rain gauge in Monmouthshire's Black Mountains recorded accumulations of 120 millimetres between Thursday night and Saturday morning. It's more rain than would be expected for the whole month. Look how quickly the River Monnow rose as a result. At 9:45 on Friday morning in Monmouth, the river level was 2.3 metres, rising to 6.6 by the early hours of Saturday morning and beating the previous record set in the wake of Storm Dennis in 2020.
So this is the flood wall along the River Monnow, protecting the town centre of Monmouth from flooding. Built in the 80s, it was designed to protect the town from a 1 in 100-year flood events, but obviously they were overtopped on Friday night, and there are questions being asked now as to whether these defences need to be reviewed.
All of this has got to be gutted, the kitchen's got to be taken out, all of the plasterboard's got to be hacked off, the skirting's got to go.
Alex can see the river from his back garden. He just recently finished renovating the downstairs of his house before it was flooded on Friday night.
The flood defences are completely and utterly inadequate. I mean, you're never going to prevent everything, but by the same token, a 3-foot wall, it's not enough. For them to rate this as a 1% chance of flooding, and for this to happen, someone's got questions to answer.
The town's former MP, David T.C. Davis, whose elderly relative was among those rescued by the emergency services, is also saying lessons must be learned.
I remember about 2000 we had a really bad one, but it wasn't as bad as this. And then after that, the flood defences were built. Obviously, they failed this time. It seems like the water's come over the top of them. And therefore, I think we should be thinking about making sure that it's rebuilt to a higher level. I mean, I'm not a scientist or a builder, but that obviously has to happen.
While severe flood warnings were issued for the River Monnow, the seriousness of the situation which unfolded even took the fire service by surprise.
There's been over 150 rescues and approximately about 250 to 300 properties affected by the flooding, along with the businesses. There's a lot of people talking about that this occurred back in 1960 as well as previous, but I've attended many incidents of flooding in Monmouth, and I've never seen it flood in the areas in which it did. So what we will do, there will be a debrief following this that we will work with our partners to understand how we can support this should this occur again.
Monmouthshire Council had been consulting on a revised local flood management strategy over the summer. They, alongside the Welsh Government and Natural Resources Wales, say they'll review what happened as a result of Storm Claudia and work together to reduce the risk of flooding, while cautioning that extreme weather events like this are expected to become more frequent.
It's the highest water levels on record in 53 years, and we're seeing this time and again on a lot of rivers across Wales, unfortunately. You know, climate change means a warmer atmosphere, more moisture in the atmosphere, more intense extreme weather events, and we're seeing that more and more frequently.
For now, the clean-up continues in a town shook by what happened, but pulling together.
And Steph is with me now. Now, you've been talking to people here all day, Steph. What's the feeling now that the waters have receded?
Well, I think understandably people are still in shock mode. You know, parts of this high street have looked like something from a disaster movie today. Fire engines still pumping out water from affected businesses, piles of discarded furniture and rubbish on the sides of the streets. So I've just walked back through town, actually. It does feel a bit calmer after another day of clearing up. And people, local politicians, making this point to me that, look, they don't want what's happened here to mean that people stay away from Monmouth. There are businesses and shops and cafes up there that are unaffected, and they need people's custom. But yes, this sense of shock of the town being taken by surprise, despite those severe flood warnings being in place along the River Monnow. The floodwaters rose so rapidly, overtopping the flood defences that are decades old, as we heard in the piece. There are calls now for those flood defences to be looked at again. But others saying, look, it's going to take much more than that. There needs to be also investment in things like natural flood management solutions, so tree planting. Do we need to sacrifice areas of land to create wetland to hold water back? And of course, these are conversations not just for towns like this, but communities across Wales.
OK, Steph, thank you very much. Steph Messenger, our environment correspondent there. So that's all from me for now, from an area that is still reeling in the aftermath of Storm Claudia. And from what we've seen here today, the clean-up operation will continue for some time to come. Back to you, Nick.